Well, let's dig a little deeper into that battle between China's internet giants. Ari Zoldan, CEO of Quantum Media Group, joins us live from New York. Welcome, Ari.
Rochelle, good to be here.
Now, people always try to compare Amazon when they talk about Alibaba and JD.com. But what are some of the key similarities and the main differences between them?
Sure. JD, in essence, is a company similar to Amazon, and they sell directly to the end user. Alibaba is a marketplace just like eBay. They match up buyers and sellers together. So those are the two key differences between the two of them.
And how do JD.com and Alibaba's business models stack up against each other, especially in their approach to growth and expansion?
Yeah, well, it's very different. Again, JD is focusing on buying inventory, housing the inventory, and then sending it directly to the end user. And that obviously there are a lot of challenges with that. The marketplace model, which Alibaba is doing, is actually, in my opinion, is significantly better because it's fostering innovation. It's also fostering these small businesses to be able to grow and to sell their goods and wares on Alibaba's platform.
So being that they do have very different strengths, which company of the two has the upper hand in China's e-commerce market, and what's giving them that edge?
Sure. Well, there's no question about it. I mean, the sheer market cap right now of Alibaba is something like $500 billion, $500 billion. The market share right now for JD.com is about $50 billion. So from a market cap perspective, Alibaba is way ahead. And I'd also say from a brand perspective also, I mean, Alibaba is the 800-pound gorilla, and I think it's going to stay there for some time.
And in terms of the global footprint, who is doing more to really entice global consumers?
I think, again, Alibaba wins that conversation as well, Rochelle. They've got the capital. They've got the human capital as well, which is important in terms of the expertise. Jack Ma surrounded himself with some serious top management guys, and they're definitely winning the race. It's not to say that JD.com is not going to come close. And I think what JD.com has to do is start differentiating themselves differently and further apart from Alibaba to be able to focus on a demographic that, well, maybe Alibaba's not looking at.
And it really wasn't the best news for JD.com. We saw that it reported its slowest revenue growth since listing. So what's driving that, and how likely is that trend to continue?
I think it's an issue of JD.com picking up quality product, and also, again, this is very new for China. So there's a lot of mistakes happening right here. And what's good and what's bad. What's good is that they get to sort of look at Amazon. Both companies, quite frankly, JD.com and Alibaba, get to look at the Amazons of the world, the eBays of the world, and see the things that they did right, but more importantly, to do the things that they did wrong and to improve on that.
Now, while Alibaba was coming off a strong fourth quarter, beating market expectations for revenue, there were some concerns about margins. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, there's no question that the margins are significantly bigger on a marketplace, on a true marketplace like Alibaba. When you're going from business to consumer direct like JD.com, I mean, your margins are really razor thin.
And as we look at this fight between JD.com and Alibaba, how is that affecting Western brands and their efforts when they try and cater to Chinese consumers?
Sure. I mean, the question is, which is it, Alibaba or is it JD.com that's really going to work with the large Western companies to be able to get their products into the Chinese pipeline? And I think that may be actually the competitive edge. If JD.com could work closely with these American manufacturers and figuring out how to deliver products and services directly into the Chinese market through JD.com, I think there's a unique opportunity for them.
Now, exclusive contracts with vendors are one of the ways that these companies are trying to compete because it stops them from listing on rival sites. But that's also putting some vendors in an uncomfortable position of having to choose. So what are really the pros and cons of having these exclusive contracts?
Yeah, I mean, I think exclusive contract, I think that's horrible, quite frankly, especially when you're talking about a true marketplace where you put buyers and sellers together. So why should you be locked out from selling on other marketplaces? It's sort of like selling your wares at a flea market, and then the flea market in the next town says to you, no, you can't sell on my flea market because you're already selling on that flea market. So it doesn't promote and foster innovation as well. So I don't think that business model is really going to work, and I don't think it's going to sustain itself either.
Now, another way they're trying to compete is by really trying to clear this reputation when it comes to counterfeit goods. Talk about some of the efforts that each company is making and the impact that it's having.
Sure, and it's not just in the technology space. I mean, it's across. I mean, unfortunately, there's still this the brand issue as relates to China and counterfeit goods. But I think China, in conjunction with both the public and the private sector, they have been working aggressively in trying to change that reputation. And obviously, JD.com and Alibaba are certainly on the forefronts of that initiative as well. And obviously, creating a universal standard to be able to combat the counterfeit efforts is only going to help both companies move forward.
All right, thank you. Always good to have you on. Ari Zoldan, CEO of Quantum Media Group.